How's it going?
Today on the Court of Apple, we are talking Epic and WordPress. We will be the judge, jury, and executioners.
Yep.
Yeah. Microsoft over the weekend, for people who don't stare at RSS feeds or Twitters or whatever, and God bless you. Microsoft filed a legal filing in support of Epic, but it's not like their full lawsuit against Apple. It's only like in the one specific area of their Unreal Engine, because Microsoft, I think they said Forza 7 or one of their Forza games would be impacted, and also hundreds of indie developers would be impacted if Epic or Unreal Engine lost its developer keys and all that good stuff.
Yeah, obviously the Microsoft quote and the support is tied to a new legal filing that Epic made. And yeah, I mean, it's obviously tied very much to the Unreal Engine. But remember that Microsoft came out against Apple's pricing structure as well in the past. And I think it's fair to say that they take exception to what Apple's doing in the mobile space. So it's interesting to see them doing this. Some people think it's ironic. I don't really see it that way, but yeah, you got to stand up to power.
Yeah, fight the man, or the apples, the apple orchard, Tim Cook, whatever you want to call it.
Exactly.
So, yeah, they're doing that, and then Apple screwed up and then fixed themselves. They went to WordPress and said, hey, you guys do in-app purchases and you're doing it outside the store, get out of our store. And then they kind of realized that wasn't the case, and oops. And,
So there's a giant lie going on here in that particular case. And that giant lie is that Apple has literally started going to companies that do offer paid services and saying you have to advertise that fact in your app and you have to go through our payment system and offer a way to pay for it. People have mistakenly said that what Apple is doing is, or what WordPress had done is put a link to a paid or just even mentioned it, both of which are prohibited by Apple, and that's not true. I mean, it is true that they did complain about that, but that was months ago. Like there are lots of app makers who have said, "Hey, excuse me, they're doing that to us too," and it has nothing to do with a link to anything. They literally are trying to extract more money from apps. And I think, I mean, this is like an opinion thing, but I mean, you have to sort of wonder, like, why would they be doing this? Why would they be basically extorting these companies to get more money from them? And I think it's a services push. Apple had said by a certain day, we're going to have so many revenues and services. They've launched a bunch of new services. I don't think they're going to have any problem hitting that figure, but of course, what they want to do is exceed it. And more important, create a new revenue stream that can rival the iPhone, right? They don't want to be the one product business. They want to have multiple revenue sources. So I think what this really is just a calculated examination of this market and, how can we get more money from the same number of, users or whatever, we can get a cut of that fee because app users are using apps that are for services that charge fees, and Apple wants part of it.
Yeah.
It's understandable.
But is it legal? That's going to be the...
Yeah, is it ethical?
Or is it extortion, I guess?
Yeah. We're going to find out.
Eventually.
Yep. Yeah, the laws, the wheels of justice move slowly.
Yep. So these were kind of the big things that popped up over the weekend. That those were late Friday.
Yeah,
Wait,
somehow managed to write 3 articles on a Sunday. I mean, it was kind of curious. Like Bill Gates appeared on some terrible podcast. I have never once thought to myself, or thought to like promote my ability as a podcaster or anything like that. But listening to these two boobs interview Gates, it's like it's unbelievable. You could put anybody in front of a microphone. Apparently, the number of times that these guys compared themselves to Gates, they were like, "Yeah, I'm just like that," and then they start talking about themselves, and it's like, guys, you've got Bill Gates here. Could you let him talk? But he said some interesting stuff about big tech, about the current antitrust stuff. He talked about Steve Jobs and I wrote it up so you don't have to listen to the podcast, but I did link to it, of course. I mean, if you want to listen to it, it was a painful 90 minutes, and I don't think anyone appreciates the amount of pain I went through to get through that. But that was interesting. I mean, and actually I should say too, I didn't write any of this stuff up, but of course Gates is involved in philanthropy these days, and also in worldwide health matters, and has been warning about a pandemic for like years. And his understanding of those issues far exceeds anything I could ever talk about. But I mean, if you're interested in that stuff too, it's kind of worth paying attention to. I like seeing him try to redeem himself.
Yeah.
Seems like he's going to do it.
Well, I think, yeah.
Like
he stole from everyone.
Everybody. Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know. We don't have time to list them all. Let's just
and now he's giving back to most people. I mean, or a lot of people.
Yeah, so I just to put that in perspective, I've been very strongly worded in my opinions about Gates, and that has not changed. I mean, he ravaged the computer industry. I mean, there's no doubt about it. He also, pushed the industry forward, of course. That industry that he was that he dominated is a much smaller place than what we have today. I mean, what's going on today with Apple and Amazon and Facebook and Google is it's not 10 times worse. It's like 1,000 times worse. I mean, the market is so much bigger. The other thing that, he drew an interesting, he drew this comparison. Of course, the idiot podcasters never thought to follow up on this, but he talked about Rockefeller, John D. Rockefeller. And this was a guy, Standard Oil, and he was also like the world's richest man at the time, dominated industries, was a complete asshole. And then he formed a foundation that went on to do incredibly good things, and that's that guy's legacy. And I think if they had pushed him on this, if they'd even asked him one question about it, what Gates probably would have said is, yeah, that guy is a model for me and what I've done. And he does admit, he's like, look, I was a jerk. He's like, I did terrible things. He was pretty clear about that. But he's done great things since. And it's possible that the influence he will have on the world because of this stuff, no, it's not possible, it's almost certain, will have a far greater impact ultimately. And that's a good thing. I mean, so.
Yeah, he rid the world of Netscape and polio. Like it's
polio, or malaria maybe, or maybe he's going to solve toilet problems in third world countries, and and he's obviously they're working on all kinds of vaccines and stuff. So anyway, but everything they're doing is great, and he has this foundation, the Gates Foundation, that him and his wife run. And I one thing I did learn is that this foundation, I don't know the exact term what you call this, but it's automatically going to implode X number of years after their deaths, and so it's designed to have an end date, and it will. Yeah, it's like it's not gonna be here 100 years from now. It's meant to run its course and spend its money,
sure,
while they're alive, plus whatever it is, 30 years or whatever the time frame is.
Sure, because you can see the scenarios that they die and that someone takes over that doesn't maybe align or whatever, and just wants to cushy right out for the rest of their life, and they don't want to spend all the money. They'll just keep it solvent. So
it's like the opposite of the Asimov Foundation books. It's not meant to go on forever. That's a reference only 3 people will understand, but
I'm not one of them.
Well, soon you will be, because the Foundation is going to be a series on Apple TV Plus.
Still won't be.
No, you should. It's a great story, actually. I suspect it will be a good TV show.
Well, you're assuming that I would watch. I don't. What is it even about? I don't even know.
It's so actually it's about there's a mathematician, basically. I think they call him a psycho. I can't remember the word of it. The word it's a word Asimov invented. Basically, they use math to predict the future, and it's a science fiction story. So it's hundreds of years in the future. There's a galactic empire, and this guy basically figures out that the empire is going to destroy itself within 500 years, and that he wants to save. Well, the story is at the time, but he wants to save the knowledge of humanity so that it survives this thing, and he wants to lessen the impact of it. So instead of 10,000 years of terribleness, there'll be 1,000 years or something. And it's all about all the early science fiction stuff: Asimov, Larry Niven, Jerry Pournelle, Arthur C. Clarke, etc. Really, what these are just like stories about smart people being smart, and it's kind of funny because that's what this is. It's just like outwitting. It's like you set up this story and you have someone outwitting the world, and so like this mathematician dies, and then his thing, the Foundation, continues and every so often he appears as like a hologram, and he's like, "Hey, it's been 50 years. Here's what happened." And they're like, "Wow, that's exactly what happened." And he's like, "Here's how you get to the next part," you know. And then 100 years go by, and he appears again or whatever. So it's a good series.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, not selling it. Read the book. It's good. Well, it's at least 2 trilogies. He also has a series of books they call the Robot books. You might have seen the movie I, Robot, which is very, very loosely based on one of those stories. Those 2 worlds intersect. They take place in the same universe. Still not selling it. There were spaceships. Okay. You should read it, though.